Mr. Chairman, my name is Terry Forky, F-O-R-K-E. I'm the Bishop of the Montana District Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod, to represent some 14,000 members of our congregations. I'd like to submit to you today 4 interesting ironies. One of the huge issues that face the United States of America right now is climate change. And I find it ironic that both sides, not arguing the relative merits of the science, both sides seek to find scientific facts and base their arguments on scientific facts. So I find it ironic that when it comes to the area of abortion or personhood, we often are ready to abandon science. The science, the biological scientific fact is plain and simple that at the moment of conception, that little baby person has every biological identifying characteristic that it ever will have. 4 things will change. Size will change, the baby will grow. But I submit to you that size is relative. All of us experience fluctuations in change. There's lots of different sizes of people. Some of you may have experienced a fluctuation in size here recently. In addition to that, location will change. Baby is in the womb, that's a scientific fact. He will come out of the womb, that's a scientific fact. But in a few minutes, I'm going to leave this room. My personhood ought not to depend on location. Maturity will change. Certainly the baby will mature. But I submit to you that maturity is also in constant state of fluctuation. When I am in an argument with my wife, I am much less mature than I am at other points. And I don't think that my personhood ought to be dependent on my maturity at any given moment. And dependence will change. Certainly the baby is absolutely dependent upon its mother. But I submit that dependence is also in a constant state of fluctuation. Every one of us in this room is dependent upon someone. And personhood ought not to be accorded on the basis of a level of dependence. So the irony is this: why are we so interested in science in some cases and not interested in science in other cases? Second interesting irony. In the United States of America, corporations are accorded the rights of a person, and baby persons are not. Third interesting irony. Do you happen to know what the fertility rate or the birth rate of the United States of America is right now? You can Google this while I'm talking. For the last 30 years, the fertility rate, that is the number of children in live birth over against the number of people dying, has been declining. And right now, and for some time, the United States of America has been at less than replacement rate. That means fewer babies are being born than people are dying. And that means if we were wolves, we would be on the endangered species list. We're not replacing ourselves. That's a scientific fact. And yet, somehow, we're very concerned about the fertility rate of wolves or other species, and not so concerned about the fertility rate of human beings. Fourth interesting irony, and perhaps the greatest irony of all. A second great issue that is before our nation right now is women's rights. And under the banner of the Me Too movement, we have been forced to recognize that we have not accorded women the same rights as men persons, maybe since the very beginning. I mean, it's a biblical fact that men have a tendency to oppress women. That's the truth. And yet, when it comes to the issue of personhood, we seem to ignore women's rights. We seem to ignore that every year in the United States of America, 300,000, you can Google that number as well, I'm rounding a bit, 300,000 baby girl persons are aborted every year, to speak nothing of the 300,000 baby boy persons. And some 600,000 women go through the trauma, the physical trauma and the psychological trauma of abortion. But that somehow is ignored. And in a few moments, those carrying the flag of women's rights will stand at this podium, and they will deny the biological sciences, and they will side with the big corporations of the abortion industry, and they will ignore the fertility rate of the United States of America, And they will say to you, please let us continue to abort 300,000 baby girl persons and 300,000 baby boy persons and abuse 600,000 women. Won't bat an eye, won't shed a tear. So I submit these 4 interesting ironies and ask you to consider those questions as you decide the issue and come to the irrefutable conclusion that baby persons matter. Thank you.